Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and with me today for a special edition is Jake Call from Metrix Finance. You might recognize him from our Wednesday show, where him and David offer up a deep pool of knowledge when it comes to DeFi. But those of you that are part of our community know about this app that he's built out, and it's called Metrix Finance. And in a nutshell, it is a powerful tool that you can use to track your DeFi portfolio, to track, the performance, to make sure that you're staying profitable in your LPs. And him and his team are actually just launching a lot of new functionality that is centered around, lending and borrowing, and potentially tracking looping. But without further ado, let me go ahead and just show you how to find him and where to find us. So on YouTube, this is our channel, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. If you want to join the conversation and ask questions about the functionality, please, by all means, come over here and jump in the chat. We want to make sure that we get all of your comments and all of your questions. On top of that, if you are interested in Metrix Finance, if you go to the description on any of our episodes or here on our description of our channel, you can find a discount code for Metrix Finance. And so, you can definitely check it out. There's a certain free functionality. And then if you find it valuable, then by all means, use our link and sign up and get a little bit of a discount on that. But let's go ahead and jump into this because I want to make sure we have enough time to get to all this functionality. I was listening in with you and David in DeFi University right before this, and it's crazy the amount of functionality that you and your team have added. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and I'm just going to try to moderate the chat and see if we can get some questions going. But
Yeah,
without further ado, Jake, if you want to share your screen.
yeah, 100%. I appreciate it, Mike. And guys, just for reference, we just had, as Mike mentioned, a call on DeFi University. Link to DeFi University is a great call. It's right below here as well. Highly recommend you guys join. I think it's like $97 a month or something, but it's well worth the value that David's going to bring you. And then on top of that, there is the Metrics link as well. We'll dive a little bit deeper into kind of what plan might fit you best a little bit later on. But I want to start off by just showing you the functionality. So ultimately, what we're building is one platform for liquidity provision and lending analytics. That's right now, of course. Eventually, we'll become the strategy hub of DeFi. And when I say the strategy hub, I mean for tracking it. Because you have multi protocols and stuff like that where you're running strategies across Aave, Uniswap, and being able to combine profit losses across those two and APRs and, hey, I borrowed this capital to put here. That's very, very useful. So ultimately, that's kind of the vision that we have in the long run. And our mission statement is to democratize the tools and resources available in DeFi because, working with institutions in the past, I know what they look at, and they don't have pretty dashboards because they have quants that are fine staring at white screens and 2010 text bubbles, but, we're retail investors, and frankly, we deserve the same tools, because it is DeFi. And at the same time, we want to be able to comprehend these tools, not just look at some annoying white screen with old text bubbles and stuff like that we can hardly read. But yeah, ultimately the integration that we just launched is lending and borrowing, where you can essentially not just use Metrix Finance to find liquidity pools, simulate them, track your performance and whatnot, but you can now use it for lending and borrowing. So when you're on the Metrix app, you can go on any of the pages and select between liquidity pools and lending and borrowing. We will start with lending and borrowing. From there, let's just say you want to go to Aave and Compound protocols. You can select both of those, select the networks that you want to look on. So we'll just select all. And then we can select something called the calculation timeframe. Now, calculation timeframe is basically choosing how much data to factor into these averages because we show you the averages as well as the live. If you want to see live, just use 1 day calculation timeframe. If you want to use the averages of how things have performed over the past 14 days or 30 days, So that way you can formulate more of a long-term investment strategy. You want to select a longer time frame, basically. I'm going to look at live data because there are benefits to both of them. But for now, I'd prefer to look at live. So one of the things that we can do on this Discover page is filter by asset. So if we want to look specifically at Ethereum, we just type Ethereum in up here. It's going to show us a list of all the Ethereum. And in this case, we have 6 pages of Ethereum, lots of it. It will show us all the derivatives and everything like that. Right now, the derivatives, the native yield behind some of these tokens like wrap staked ETH does 2.7% or so. That's not included in this APY quite yet. We're working on integrating that. But like from here, 6 pages is still a lot to go through. That's 60 something pools, I want to say. And then what we can do instead is we can sort by average APY to look at the highest first. So you could see right over here 5.19, 2.23, 2.05. Now, one thing I want you guys to pay attention to is utilization rates. Because utilization rates, if it has a high utilization rate, that means that a lot of people are basically borrowing this asset right now, meaning that there is a chance that this APY might drop relatively soon. So let's just say we wanted to simulate this.
Well, really quick, Jake. If I understand what you and David were talking about before, when you were talking about that utilization rate as well, is potentially not necessarily being able to extract your liquidity if need be.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
correct?
So one of those instances would be since people are borrowing your capital, and if there's no capital available to borrow, then that also means that you can't withdraw your capital because people are borrowing it, and until they repay borrows, can't get your capital out. Now, there's a beauty to this because basically the utilization rate is how much is being borrowed compared to how much is being supplied. So it's 90% right now. 90% of the supply is being borrowed in this instance, which isn't a bad utilization rate. You'll see a lot of these are around 80 to 90%. But as that utilization rate goes up, that borrow APY starts to increase, which means that that supply APY starts to increase. Meaning, as a borrower, you are incentivized to pay back that borrow because that utilization is high. You're paying a lot to borrow that capital. You don't want to pay that much. As a lender, you're incentivized to go and lend more capital because you're getting paid significantly more right now. So it's a self-balancing system that has been proven to work, basically. And I will say, in all the times that I've used lending and borrowing over the past like 4.5 years, there's not been once where I couldn't get my capital out. Like, not once. I've had a client, one client on one smaller market that had that issue, but especially the more liquid markets, these are really good at making sure that you can get your capital out.
And you and your clients are using often, larger sums of money. So, I mean, if you're not having issues, I would think that, the average person isn't going to have a whole lot of issues.
Yeah, definitely not at all. So it's like these markets are completely safe to use, and you don't have to worry about ultimately not being able to withdraw capital because people are borrowing or whatnot. But that is the risk. That's like one of the risks. Like, what if you need to sell or something like that? Now the caveat to that is like if you need to sell, you can theoretically like switch your loan, I believe, within the platform, maybe, depending on how much is available. Okay. You could switch your loan to like a different asset or something. So like USDC. But yeah, now diving a little bit deeper, let's just say this is one that we want to look further into. We can hit that simulate button. Now this is going to take us to basically the compound unichain Ethereum market. So what we're looking at is we're looking at basically the overall market. Let's just give this a sec to load. We can add assets over here, like Ethereum, let's just say, where we're earning 5.26%. Say we were to do 10 grand here. And then we can add borrowed assets as well. Now, one thing you're going to notice is in this market, how Compound kind of segregates this is they have like borrowing markets. So you can borrow USDT here, you can borrow Ethereum here, so on and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys real quick. So yeah, as you can see, Ethereum, I would select ETH, the Ethereum market, basically. But what this means is any of these assets that I supply, Coinbase Wrap Bitcoin, Coinbase Wrap Staked Ethereum, ETHX, any of these, I can borrow ETH only against it, basically. So we just want to keep that in mind. So this one, if I would dive into this one if I just wanted to strictly lend out Ethereum. But taking a look over here, we'd essentially add the assets that we want to supply, add the assets that we want to borrow, and it's going to spit out our overall net worth, which is our net value of the position, how much we've supplied and what we're earning on it, how much we borrowed and what we're paying on it, how much is available to borrow. So if I say borrow, 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. Okay, so you can't borrow ETH against ETH, basically. We just need to go to a new market for a better example. But yeah, let's take a look. Let's use Aave.
Now, is this and this is all simulation? You're not actually opening the positions?
Correct. Yeah, we're essentially trying to validate the strategy, Mike. So we're trying to see if this is a good strategy to run, or if
Mhm.
it's too expensive to run, or if it's something that just doesn't fit our risk level. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do basically. Now within this, right? Now that we're on Aave v3 Ethereum, getting back to it, say we were to supply 10 ETH, and then we were to borrow, let's just say some USDC of $10,000, right? You
Mhm.
can see our net value is 35,000. Our supplied, we're earning 1.61% on 45 grand. We're paying 5.72% on 10 grand. And then on top of that, we've used 27.5% of our borrowing power, meaning that we can borrow significantly more. When you look at it just on Aave, you're like, okay, I'm borrowing 10 grand against 45 grand. Sure, you're borrowing 10 grand against 45 grand. What point do you get liquidated at, right? It will show you those when you actually go to borrow, but it won't let you simulate the entire market. We can't say, hey, I'm bringing in these assets, right? These, say, 3 assets or something, and I'm borrowing these 2 assets. So that's where Metrix comes into play, because you can truly simulate the entire market here. Like in this instance, we want to ramp up that borrow to 50 grand or something. We could see what our risk level is, what our health factor is, our LTV, what LTV we get liquidated at, what the max amount that we can borrow is right now. And then after we've done all that, we can see exactly how much interest we are earning / paying. So on our supply, $2 a day, $730 per year. On our borrow, $7.83 per day is being paid, $28.58 per year. Our net, we are paying $21.29 to be in this position, basically. So all of that is available on this dashboard. Now, it gets even better, right? You can go under the section over here, view overall market metrics, view the market supplied and borrowed over time. Additionally, you can click on this little eyeball where you can view individual asset details for the supplied and borrowed over time, the daily APY, the position health currently versus the historical averages, and the risk parameters of it. All of that is displayed on an individual asset basis as well. Now, the next thing is you can adjust your calculation time frame. This is how many days are being factored in when
Mhm.
calculating these APYs and numbers. So if you want live data, use 1 day. If you want more historical data, I think you could go up to 90 days or so, just like that. So historically, it was a little bit higher, basically. Um, and then when we look over here at estimated interest, we can simulate this performance, right? Where we can
Mhm.
see exactly how many days until liquidation. We can see what happens when ETH goes up to 5 grand, Bitcoin goes up to 130 grand, and Aave goes up to, let's just say, $350 or something like that, right? And
So
then
so really quick on Pump.Fund, somebody was asking, what is that? How many days to liquidation?
okay, so ultimately that's going to tell you basically if nothing happens, if let's just say we accumulate interest, we're paying, $5.13 per day. If that
Mhm.
$5.13 per day stacks up and up and up and up and up, basically, and the asset prices do not change, it will take, in this case, 7,000 days until we get liquidated just from
Oh,
interest
okay.
stacking
Okay,
up.
so basically, if you don't do anything, then basically the interest stacks up to where it liquidates you.
If we don't do anything and the market doesn't do anything, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alright.
So yeah, and in this instance, basically, when we look over here at the market performance, if all of these assets go to these prices over here, we would have a net worth of about, in this instance, I think that's 100 grand or so, which is up from $84,000. So ultimately, that's going to show us the breakdown of how our strategy is going to perform. It's plus 19% over here when these assets go to these individual prices. You can also
Mhm.
see exactly what your monthly APY is going to be, your yearly APY is going to be at those specific prices, what your health factor is going to be at that price, what your LTV will be there, and how much you'll have available to borrow at that price. we can also choose to factor in a specific amount of days. So if we factor in 90 days, for example, it's going to say, hey, 90 days of interest is basically $435 of interest that she would have paid over the course of 90 days, basically. So you'll be able to visualize all of that within this dashboard.
Nice.
That right there is simulate. Can I answer any questions on anything like that? I know I've been rambling, but if we have questions coming
No,
in,
go ahead and keep going. I'm saving them up, and we'll hit those at the end. I don't want to take you out of your role.
you good. Awesome. So moving forward, basically, that's like simulate. Ideally, you'd find your strategy, you'd back test, you'd say, hey, this is good. I want to deploy into it. Then the next thing that you can do after you deploy into it is actually track it through Metrix Finance. So I'm going to go over to our track page and we just select lending. And then I'll throw in my wallet address basically. And the first iteration of this is just going to show you allocations, kind of a little bit like of a bank on steroids, specifically for lending and borrowing. However, second integration will show you profit loss as well as like historical interest paid and everything like that for everything dating back to when Aave was launched, essentially. But when we look over here at open positions, you could see exactly how much you have on each market, the net worth, the health factor, the net APY, the current LTV, the supplied and borrowed assets, as well as their amount, USD breakdown, and APYs that you are earning / paying. So when we look at something like my Arbitrum market, I have 77 grand roughly. I have 2.51 health factor. I'm paying 2.53% per year to run this strategy, and I have a 32% LTV right now. We could see how much of each asset I've supplied and what their current value is, as well as borrowed. And then all of that is aggregated across all the markets up top over here. In this instance, we have $82,000 across all these markets, 117,000 supplied, 35,000 borrowed, and the overall net APY is negative 2.37% or so. And the overall health factor is 2.6.
Well, and those that might not be familiar with Metrix Finance, I mean, what is so powerful about this tool is, and I say this because I use it as well, and this is something that I was actually trying to build before I found Metrix Finance. But being able to put in your wallet address and not connect in a way to where, like, your wallet can get drained or anything like that, but just looking on chain at on chain data, this basically will display all of your LP positions and now all your borrowing and lending positions so that you can see how your portfolio is actually performing. Because for a long time, I was using Excel spreadsheets, and some of it was automated, some of it was manual. It was very convoluted. It was very complex. This makes it so much easier
Oh, yeah.
to understand how you're earning and if you are staying profitable, especially with borrowing and lending. And I know that you are adding to the functionality to where you can track looping as well. So those that don't understand what looping is, you can lever up your borrowing and lending, where you repeat the cycle of lending and borrowing, over, and the borrow that you take out, you relend that it repeatedly, and each one of those is a loop, but you're levering up your risk as well. So understanding how that affects your positions and your health is paramount. So I just wanted to point that out before, just so people understand how valuable this data is.
100%. I appreciate that, Mike. And yeah, basically to look at the liquidity pool side of things, we for the longest time built strictly on liquidity pools. And I think that was important, right? You get really good at one vertical and then you attack a different one, right? Which is now lending and borrowing. We're still building up our liquidity pool thing on the back end. But we're going to be going heavily into lending and borrowing as well. So ultimately, some of the data that you see on this liquidity pool, we could go into the details here, but we see profit loss versus HODL, asset gain, ROI, historical APR based on what we've actually earned, how much earnings we have unclaimed versus claimed. We could dive into see how much we started with, as well as how much we have now. If we held what we started with, our price range over time, we can dive into position liquidity over time versus HODL metrics. What if we held 100% SOL, 100% render, 50-50 initial assets? We can view the price our earnings were claimed at, projections. We could add hedges over here. We can view all of our transaction history. It truly is intensive. It's a lot of data, and it's not for the person that wants to just throw some money in a pool and call it a day, because their strategy is not going to work in the long run, but rather when you have this data and you can make data-driven decisions, you make more money and you save more money. And one thing I just want to point out, basically, one of our, or not one of our, but like we did a survey of all of our beta users, which was like about 100 people or so. They reported $2,500 in saved money extra, and then $5,000 in made money extra on average, which is like about $7,500. And then the average portfolio size was around $100,000. So 7.5% in their pocket by using Metrix Finance, basically the new variation of it. And that includes all functionalities, meaning on a $100,000 portfolio, that's an extra 7.5 grand in your pocket. And they use this over the course of 90 days or so. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and this is something that, I mean, it's a very, very simple, question, but a very good, I mean, a very powerful question.
Mhm.
Can simulate tap into real-time prices to calculate the liquidation days? Absolutely. All of
Yeah.
this data for the simulation is real-time data for the actual pools. All, I mean, that's what makes it valuable, is it's not just, you're manually, hand jamming, the APRs in and things like that. You're actually looking up the live pools, and as they move in real time, you're able to simulate these positions to best, and it has the historical data. So 100%. And actually, that's a kind of a good question that we could dive into a little bit, Jake, is
Yep.
how does it compile the data, and not necessarily exactly where you're getting the data from, but how do you ensure the accuracy of the data?
Yeah, 100%. So, first thing I want to say is we use something called subgraphs to query all the blockchain data. And basically, what that process looks like is we create the code of a subgraph, and that's basically just saying, hey, here's the data we want to pull in from these smart contracts. We go to a subgraph provider, which we primarily use the graph among other companies as well, and then we just say, here's the subgraph code. We launch the subgraph, and then ultimately that goes and pulls from all the smart contracts, and it basically just gives us raw data. And then it's up to us to parse that raw data, because in the instance of liquidity pools, what we're doing is we're essentially creating a database of every single deposit, withdraw, claim, or any action in a Uniswap liquidity pool, basically. And then we're also creating a database of all the possible Uniswap liquidity pools. And then what our front end does is it links them all together, basically, where it goes in and it essentially just says, okay, here's a specific liquidity pool. And then, okay, here's your specific position in this liquidity pool. And then, okay, here's your deposit, your withdrawal, your claim, how much you currently have. So that's kind of how we're getting the data. Now, I will say, sometimes these subgraphs return inaccuracies. If you pop open that live chat and say, hey, this data doesn't look right, we go directly to the group chat that we have with all of these teams, because we're enterprise customers for all these guys, basically. We go directly to the group chat that we have on Telegram, and we get a response within 12 hours usually, and we get it fixed, basically. So there are instances where that can happen, and we're always going to make sure that those get fixed as long as you can make us aware, basically.
Awesome. No, and I've used, like I said, I use Metrix all the time, and I actually went into the AI chat and was asking the AI a bunch of questions a couple of weeks ago, and Jake actually personally popped in there and was like, started messing with me. What are you up to? What do you need? And so he and it was probably, wasn't it like 10 at night or 11 at night or something like that? I mean,
Yeah, I get notifications. I will say
yeah,
I'm not going to respond to most people, but I recognize Mike's email, so I had to had to jump on.
that tells me a lot, that that you're that invested personally in, your product. It's so, a lot of people, they'll come up with something, they'll launch it, and it's just kind of whatever. That actually, told me a lot and gave me a lot of confidence, about your product. What, the fact that you were monitoring it at, that late at night.
People like to say I'm the constraint of growth, and they're like, hire more people. I'm like, okay, but we got to hire good people, and
Yeah.
we're hiring for another full stack developer right now. If anybody is one or knows one, let us know. We'll have some stuff going out soon. Just pop on that little chat bubble right here and let us know, because we're looking for the best of the best right now, And as I mentioned, I think on the live earlier today, the launch one, our team, a lot of people come on board. They have expectations. They want to work these hours, blah, blah, blah. They end up working more for fun, or they're like, hey, can I work weekends? And I'm like, of course. We're very, very flexible. Obviously, if you're going to work weekends, you're going to get extra comp. Makes sense to do that. So yeah, and we're looking for full-time developers. So. Yeah.
I actually pointed a guy that lives down in Texas your way, so
Nice.
you might be hearing from him.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, to dive a little bit deeper, that's kind of like what we launched today, lending and borrowing. That was the main thing. We also added in Black Hole as well as Camelot, specifically on, as well as Uniswap V4, on Discover, as well as Simulate. Let me just select all these. Here, let me refresh. If not, I got to check with Esteban, see what's going on Simulate, basically, and Discover. And then Track will be going live, I want to say, by the end of the week, maybe early next week or so, because those subgraphs have to sync, because it basically has to go in and load all the data from the absolute start of it, basically. So, yeah, here, I'll let them know. For some reason, there we go. Yeah, I'll usually be live on there. Sometimes when we do launches and stuff like that, we have immediate bugs. We always make sure to get those fixed, because while we do test on preview environments, it's like once you put it on production, it's a different database. It's, you have a bunch of users using it. Stuff can break quickly. So we always make sure we block off for a whole day to fix those issues, basically. And we're using the product a lot at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, you can go in, you can find all those pools on Discover, pop into Simulate, start to simulate those pools. And then in a week or so, you'll be able to track all those pools directly on our Track tab. Now, on top of that, what we did is we essentially created, or are creating, and that will be live today, tomorrow, something called Metrix Academy that teaches you how to use this to its fullest extent and how to create what we would consider your own little workflow using Metrix Finance, basically. And then after you do that, we have a strategy hub that showcases different lending and borrowing and different liquidity strategies that you can implement into your portfolio. And then on top of that, we implemented an actual AI portfolio advisor that can essentially build out strategies specific to your portfolio and your goals. So when you go to hub.metrix.finance, if you have the elite annual plan, because it's only available to elite annual users right now, you're able to access the academy, the strategy hub, as well as the AI chat. So we could pop in here, we can ask it simple questions like, what is DeFi? And it's going to give a trained response based on all of our knowledge, or we can give it more in-depth information, like if I want to rebalance soon, what should I look for, right? And ultimately, give it a screenshot of this position right over here. So I'll just do this and give it a couple screenshots, actually, I think.
This is actually new. I need to start using this
Live today, man. But yeah, we'll give it a couple screenshots, right? And we'll show it the price range and the position liquidity over time. And as always, your own prompting is going to make this 10 times better if you can prompt an AI. We have like a backend prompt that we already use, but your own prompting makes this better.
This is like having like a Jake or a David in your pocket.
Exactly. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. We might label it as askjake.com or something like that. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Just ask Jake.
Yeah. If I want to rebalance this soon, what should I look for? It's well in profit, has high earnings retention, doing a good APR. What's recommended? Maybe HODL, like just spitball, basically. And this also has the ability to search the web live as well. It will show you the sources in which it gets the responses from. So in this instance, I used our docs over here. Click on that, go directly to the docs. as well as YouTube videos that we have trained it on. So we've trained it on some of the YouTube videos that people have made on us. And then we've also trained it on YouTube videos that we've made, basically. And all the content's vetted and whatnot to make sure that it's actually of high quality. But it's going to go ahead and reason. It'll typically get you a response within like about a minute or so. Took about 28 seconds. It's like you want to decide whether you want to rebalance the soul render LP soon or exit the hodl. Image 1 through 3, the position is in range with a 50% realized APR, $1,000 in unclaimed fees, 72% retention, fees offset most divergence, and 744 versus hodl. With inventory skewed 85% render, 15% soul. These metrics say the range is working. Rebalancing only helps if you're about to go out of range, fees are decaying, or the skew no longer matches your desired ratio. So stay in the LP, set a price alert near both range edges, rebalance only if the price approaches a boundary, retention trends below 60% or versus hodl turns flat or negative over your last 7 to 14 days, or you want less render exposure than your current 85%. Switch to
Dude, this is
hodl only
sick.
if you prefer single asset directionality or your simulation shows fees won't cover divergence over the next 30 to 60 days. So it's basically having you do that reevaluation process. It's saying this is a good LP to stay in, but you want to be careful of these things and resimulate. So
Well, dude,
ultimately, that's what we're going to do.
just this functionality alone would probably save you or make you enough money to make up for what the cost of Metrix, is going to cost you.
Yeah,
Because I mean, even in small positions, I mean, this could be, per day, just the knowing or, ensuring that you're staying profitable, the money
mhm,
that it's going to save you. And then also it, telling you that, hey, your yield is decaying,
yeah,
or, you're getting towards the limits, or just, whatever the variable is that is affecting the profitability, then it's going to advise you to, adjust in one way or another. Again, saving you money.
exactly. Yeah, and that's ultimately how we're trying to position it, Mike. Like, as I mentioned, this is available on our annual plan only. Which, if you guys use the link right below, Mike's gonna get a kickback because he does a great job hosting these free shows. Literally, I feel like I get a notification like 3 times a day at this point. For me, I'm like, how often are you going live? But yeah, it supports Mike and everything like that. But yeah, if you pay monthly, you're not going to get access to the AI, unfortunately. You still will get access to Linen and Bar and the full app and everything. Just not the Academy, the Strategy Hub, or the AI actual like portfolio advisor. You'll get AI chat, which is just support and whatnot. But when you go to the main landing page, Metrix.finance, and use Mike's code, which is at the top of the description, click here. You can select between card and crypto, and it will apply that. If you already have a subscription, just select the $1,000 yearly option and then type in code ELITE, and it will give you the $200 off to credit it down to 800. So you're basically paying for essentially 8 months, and then you're getting 4 months for free after that. That's essentially what we've done here because we want to make it a no-brainer for people to join up on yearly plans. And the reasoning behind this is because people that join up on yearly plans, Mike, it doesn't just go to the point that it puts more money in our pockets so we can build greater tools faster. Obviously, it does that.
Yeah.
But rather, the other thing that we noticed is we looked at the data. Half of our users are on yearly plans.
Mm.
80% of our users, I think it was, have above $25,000 in their portfolio. And then on top of that, they reported higher returns than the typical users when we analyzed both tiers and the people that are paying monthly. You want to know why? It's because they have a long-term investment outlook. They're not looking at next month. They're looking
Mm.
at next year. So ultimately when they sign up for a yearly plan, they have those better results because they have a longer investment horizon and a better investment thesis because they're more confident in what they want to do and more confident in making their decisions. So we still have monthly options, but that's why we
I'd be
created yearly options as a no-brainer.
I'd be curious, like, and I don't know if this is data that you have, but, on the average user, how much this app, saves them, just, kind of what's the, the return on investment.
Yeah,
If they're paying the $40-50 a month for the basic plan, are they saving enough, or is the data that they're getting, the simulations, and being able to track their portfolio, and things like that, is it basically paying for itself? I
yeah.
mean, is that data that you have access to, or?
as a user, I would say it does pay for itself, right?
Mhm.
And also we have reports, of, oh, it paid for itself, oh, it's saving XYZ, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But what we actually have data on is when we surveyed users, we surveyed people that were on our on the highest tier, basically. That included people that are part of Builder Wealth, like the members of like our coaching service and stuff like that. And then also people that are just power users of Metrix and everything. When we surveyed them, here's kind of like what we got. Let me just screenshot it. It's all over the place. Okay. So if you had to guess, how much money has Metrix Finance saved you? The mean was $3,000, right? We kind of reported 2,500 or so. And then if you had to guess how much money has Metrix Finance made you, the mean was about 6,850. And again, the average portfolio size here was about $100,000 or so. So, and we reported $5,000 or so. So when we look at kind of people that are using Metrix Finance to the fullest extent and actually know how to use it, which is why we
Mhm.
are creating the academy, right? They're on average, let's just say, saving an extra 2.5% relative to their portfolio value, and then on average making an extra 5% relative to their portfolio. And that is extra, right? Because
Yeah,
anybody can dive into LP and earn fees, but if you actually put a strategy in place, how much better are those results? And that's
exactly.
what we're tracking here. So ultimately, say 7.5% in your pocket relative to your portfolio value. We can't guarantee that because obviously all instances are different. But what we can say is if you join
On
Metrix
average.
Elite, yeah, on average, if you join Metrix Elite, the $800 option, or it's your first time signing up for any of our subscription plans, you don't like it within 7 days, we'll give you a refund. Just go on the
Well,
chat,
and that $800 is for a year, right?
full year. Yeah, full
Yeah,
year. So yeah, and again, first purchase only. But if it's your first time, you're signing up for Metrics, you sign up for Elite, $800, and 5 days later, you're like, man, this sucks. This was not at all what I thought it was going to be. We'll ask you, hey, what sucks about it? We'll see if there's a way that we can make it right and like just kind of better educate you on it. And if not, we'll give you a full refund. We're not going to like force it down your throat. We just want to make sure that you truly are using it right, and then we'll give you a full refund if you don't
yeah.
like it.
No, it's. I
Um,
mean, if you weren't going to take care of people, I wouldn't be, promoting this because it's, I'm very, very, particular about who I work with and who
yeah,
we
me
deal
too,
with.
man.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, no, I know you are. So it's like that's like this is honestly the kind of the first kind of promotional video that that we've done on this channel for that reason, and just working with you, being on the show and stuff like that, I can see, you're an honorable person. So
appreciate
yeah, I mean, I've, I mean, it's just, it's really important that, people understand. And if you want to, test drive this, get the monthly plan, get the basic
it.
monthly plan, try it out. If it saves you, money, if you're, if it's offsetting the cost, what it's making you, then, you can then do an educated get, not an educated guess, but a well-informed decision to go up to a larger package or something. You don't have to jump into the yearly plan. Give it a test drive. There's free functionality. If
Yeah,
you want to go to
there is.
Metrix Finance, check out some of the functionality for free. Connect your. You can see again. You're not giving them any permissions to your wallet
You're
other
not.
than. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you're not. Like we don't have Connect Wallet functionality. Matter of fact, right now we don't even when we save data, we're saving position data. We're not saving wallet data. So we can see what positions are doing well and what's not, but we
Mhm.
can't associate that with individual wallet addresses just because we haven't built out our backend for tracking all of that or anything like that. But in terms of yearly plan, yeah, as you mentioned, like try out a monthly if you prefer. We used to have free trials. We don't have free trials anymore, but that's because we introduced the 7-day money back guarantee. So if you don't like it, basically we have a bunch of people that were just exploiting free trials. Majority of them from lower income countries. So it makes sense, right? Sign up with multiple accounts, different cards, use like card wrappers. So you can just create a new credit card and use your main credit card as like all that stuff. And we were able to eliminate that by just making it so you have to pay for it and then giving you a refund if you don't like it within 7 days. But we still wanted to keep some free. So there is a free plan that's limited and it's going to give you some basic stuff to truly just gain that trust with us. And what I will say is, last thing on that $800 plan, since it is our launch day, we are, introducing 2 additional bonuses. Not only do you have the Metric Academy, the Strategy Hub, and this AI chat, which has proven to be pretty dang good based on what we fed it. You also have 2 private sessions tomorrow where we're diving into how to get started in this, how to get set up using fully Metrix Finance. One of them is on Aave. It's a full masterclass on Aave. And then the next one is on Uniswap V4 and how to front run all the liquidity that's about to move to V4. And those are about hour and a half each, and we'll do live Q&A and everything. And they're only to people that join that annual plan, just so we can keep it private. And I think so far we have about 33 people or something that's joined Elite on the annual plan. And what do you call it? We are obviously not all of them show up. The recording will be available though and whatnot. So yeah, that's enough of me shilling. I want to get to product questions.
No. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is important because, I mean, if I don't want people to think that the only option is
Yeah,
to pay for an annual $800, and I hope this is useful. I
yeah,
definitely wanted them to know that, hey, try it out for free. There's plenty of functionality that I was using for free before we even started talking,
100%.
and I found it very valuable. And then, of course, we started working together, and I got access to the Elite, and so yeah, now I've been diving into it, and it's just, I mean, it's helped me. And,
Yeah.
I've only been doing DeFi for, about a year now. And it's, with my limited knowledge, when it comes to a lot of the nuances to how the liquidity pools work
Mhm.
and the borrowing and lending strategies work, this actually gives me the added insights that, having somebody like you, like I said, you or David or somebody that's, very experienced in my pocket, kind of over my shoulder, saying, hey, you might want to rebalance this position, or you might want to exit that position. This position over here, before I actually, deploy my liquidity, it will tell me, how profitable it's going to be. Historically, of course, if what's been playing out, whatever I set in there for the past 30 days, 90 days, whatever, if it keeps playing out, then this is potentially what I could make per day, per week, per month, per year, those sorts of things. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's when it comes to DeFi, I mean, for me, this is a must have. So yeah, I mean, I don't really consider it shilling because, I mean, you're giving something of value. Usually when I hear people, shilling something, it's just like, hey, I'm going to talk about this because I'm going to get
Fair.
paid, to talk about it.
Yeah,
It's, they don't believe in the product. You obviously believe in the product, and I know I do. So anyway,
100%. Appreciate that. Awesome. Yeah. Any questions in the chat, guys? Feel free to get them flowing. Um, we got probably about 15 minutes here or so, and then yeah.
so I know that there was one question earlier, and they were asking about security, but I know that I mean, you're not actually connecting your wallet to it. So there is no exposure, to, any sort of, malicious anything really. I mean, is that what are the potential security issues?
Not really anything. The only thing that you have to be aware of, which we kind of eliminate the social engineering aspect because we're on calls all the time, like with the team. The full team doesn't have access to like putting stuff. But the only thing is, if somehow our front end were to get hacked and like put something that says connect wallet or something, you connect your wallet. I think it's a new feature, and then you sign it. But one thing I just want to say is you will see like a live stream on our official social pages. You'll see emails from me. You'll see all this stuff. You'll see little chat messages from me. You'll see it on my main channel as well when we launch the ability to connect wallet. So for the time being, if for whatever reason, if we don't, have that launch, don't connect your wallet. But that's a very, 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 very low risk because it like results in the fact that somehow our domain gets hacked or something like that, or
Mhm.
somehow one of our accounts gets hacked or something. Um, which, I'd like to say is not going to happen.
So one question that I got was that they were asking is the looping functionality.
Mhm.
So I know it looks like that it's not something that you currently have, but I know it's something that I personally plan on using as I ladder out of
Yeah.
my of the alts and stuff into stables. Um, what is kind of what is the current state and the future state of any looping the tracking of the looping strategy?
Yeah. So for tracking right now, we can show you the overall like portfolio value. Like when we look at, let's just say, uh, my lending portfolio, some of this is actually looped, some of it's put in liquidity pools. And frankly, I wish I had like the full functionality now, because I would have been be able to better allocate that capital. But like, the borrow that I have against my capital right now has gone all different types of places, right? This USDC right here. It's been leveraged up in different aspects of DeFi essentially, but part of it's being looped. So that 76,500 is how much I truly have after I pay back this USDC. When we introduce profit loss, assuming you're doing looping at the same time you're borrowing, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, most 95% of people are going to be doing it. And
It's
actually,
kind of the point,
yeah, actually, a lot of people are actually probably going to be doing it in one transaction, which makes it even more accurate, because they're using Jupiter's say multiply or Camino's multiply, right? They're using
Yeah,
the automatic,
revert. I know
yeah,
revert
revert.
has, yeah.
And once we support those platforms, like you'll be able to see exactly total profit loss from that strategy or from that market, as well as the individual assets. So, yeah.
Well, and if people don't understand how powerful that is, previously, I mean, like on revert and stuff like that, they do a similar thing, but some platforms, you have to, when you're manually doing it, you're basically lending out, and then you're taking out a loan against that lend, and then you're taking that borrow and relending it out, and repeating that process. So whenever you're looking at the performance and the health and things like that, you're looking at each individual position, not the aggregate of all of them together on some platforms. So that's what makes this so powerful, is that once that functionality is added, and I know you and your team are working on it now, then you'll be able to see the overall health. And if any of the APRs change, the borrow and lend APRs change to an extent to where it ceases to be profitable, to where you start losing money, then you know that you need to unwind those positions and pay back those borrows, so
Mhm.
that you don't lose money. So
Exactly.
that's what we're talking about when we talk about the value of this tool. Is if you didn't have a tool, or you are using a platform that doesn't show that aggregate, then potentially each minute, each hour, each day, each week that you're in those positions, you're bleeding liquidity, you're bleeding your profits.
Yeah.
So being able to have a dashboard, one place that you can go, you can look at all of your DeFi and see what is profitable and what's not, and adjust your portfolio. Get up in the morning, have your cup of coffee, look on your dashboard. Hey, is there any adjustments I need to make? All right, cool. Now I'm going to go about my day. I'll check back later.
Mhm.
That, to me, is my time is my most valuable resource. And so,
100%.
being able to do that and not go to like 18 different freaking DeFi protocols and check on my positions, that's something I'm willing to pay for.
100%. And, Mike, what we're trying to basically build is a workspace, right? Where you can do most of it, here. So think about like Notion, for example. You create your workspace in Notion, you organize your files, your documents, you have some charts in there, you have like, you can add graphs, you can do all this stuff in Notion, right? And the point is obviously like taking notes and organizing stuff. It's an organizational app basically for your brain.
Mm.
Um, what we're trying to be is that organizational app for your DeFi portfolio. So in the future, we will show like stuff like DeBank and Jupiter just in one dashboard, but we'll also have what do you call it? The individualized tracking that we have for liquidity pools, for lending and borrowing, for other avenues of DeFi that we launch in the future as well. And then simulate, discover for all of those, and then also the ability to manage things directly in there. That's kind of like where we want to move towards over time. So
Yeah, and I'm excited for that. I mean, like I said, time is me personally, what I strive to get more of. I mean, that's
yeah,
really my investing and stuff like that is just to allow me the flexibility to where I have more time to do what it is I want to do. And
yeah,
that's, I think, why we're all here, investing in crypto, investing in DeFi is to take back, our time, not have to go to a 9 to 5 job, Monday through Friday, or, even more sometimes,
yeah,
and hope that you make enough money and you can save enough, especially in our economy and
yeah,
the way that things are going, that, you can hopefully retire at the age of 70 or 75. You know,
yeah,
me personally, I did it at 40. It's like was lucky though. I invested and, made certain, sacrifices so that I could do that. So
yeah.
again, I appreciate it, Jake. I know that I know that you got, quite the lineup of shows, and you didn't get much sleep last night, so I definitely don't want to keep you. But
Got
is
one
there
more.
anything else? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. We got one more today. It's just on my main channel. Search Jake Call on YouTube. I will be live in about an hour or so. But yeah, there's one last question in the chat. Does it send Discord alerts if something dramatically changes in your portfolio? So right now we have alerts for basically like before you go out of range and stuff like that. You have to turn them on. You have to add custom ones. However, what we are introducing soon would be like health factor alerts and whatnot. So that way you know before you get liquidated. So that way you can make sure that you add capital, repay borrows, whatever. It's not through Discord. It is through email, but what we want to introduce is like whether through Telegram, through Discord. I would love to do text. Like I'm a big like just text me type of person.
Yeah, yeah,
Something like that, or have different options. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, do you have anything else that you want to let the community know before we go?
that's it for me, man. Use Mike's affiliate link down below, and yeah,
All right. Well, I'm gonna throw on my my weighted vest back here and go hike up the mountain and get a workout in. But I appreciate you, Jake, and I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jake, reach out to me. Our Discord, the DCA Discord, we're always in there, and I can point you in the right direction if I don't know, if I don't have the answer to your question. So
yeah, 100%. I
again,
appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
hey, not a problem. We'll be talking again tomorrow, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, stick around right after this. I want to chat with you about something.
Okay.
All right, cool. Until next time, Veteran Crypto out.